Howdy, how you doing? This is Rick Koppel coming to you from Denver, Colorado with another episode of PD Man Rick. In this episode I'll be giving you a taste of what it's like to have deep brain stimulation surgery. And by giving you my own experience of it, I do have to add, however, that what you go through may not be exactly the same as what I've gone through. Just keep that in mind, because every doctor does their things a little bit differently. So who knows? And I'll tell some of the variations on what I've done, what there is available that I'm aware of anyway. So let's get this show on the road. Alrighty. Now, after having had a physical to clear me physically in order to have surgery, and after going through a memory examination by a psychologist, because DBS can affect one's memory negatively, and MRI, so the surgeon would have a map of my brain to decide where things are going to go, where he's going to stick things, what he's going to do. All that came into effect that about 2 weeks before the surgery, had the MRI done, and all that. After having all that done, then I had the surgery. The day before I scheduled to have 3 posts drilled in my head, I got a call from the doctor's office. Because you see, in the old days, there's like 3 ways that this DBS could be done. In the older days of DBS, and some may still do it this way, there's several posts they pop in around the head. Then they attach a crown, or I forget what they call it, halo, whatever, to the post, so the head is totally, can't move it. I mean, if you yanked your head around, you wouldn't be able to do it, or hurt it like heck if you tried. But anyway, it keeps your head still so that they can put the leads in without worrying about you moving your head. Boops, there goes your blood vessel. So anyway, they lately, relatively speaking, they developed a new system. That's where they put 3 posts in your head, doink, 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 somewhere right around up here somewhere. And they had these little lead feeders that they would attach to the skull, and so it would move with your head like that. So no matter where you moved, it would move with you. And the leads, the posts were basically receptors that wirelessly gave signals to the map of the brain they had on the screen that showed you where the leads were going in, where they were being placed, and how it was all happening. And the posts provided reference points, essentially for the surgeon to do his job. But that was an advance, because then you didn't have to have the whole halo in your head totally motionless stuck to the thing like that. Well, they had recently come up, when I had my surgery back in September 29, 2017, they had recently come out with this new equipment, which allowed them to do it even without the reference post on your heads, stuck to your head. And so my doctor wasn't sure if he's going to be able to do it with that yet, because he just got the machine in, he had to check it out, that kind of thing, make sure it worked according to plans and spec and everything. But then the day before, 2 days before the surgery was to take place, I got a call from his office saying he was going to go with the new machine. So therefore, when I went into the hospital the next day, all I had to have was a CAT scan. I didn't have to have the post drill to put in my head like they were planning on doing. Which probably, I don't see anybody sleep with posts sticking out of their heads. Weird. Anyway, the surgeon told me that we would do that. And this new machine basically used MRI technology to tell the surgeon where everything was going in at and stuff like that. So that was a cool thing. So I kind of got sort of guinea pigged. I don't know if I was actually the very first person to use that or not, but I could have been. Who knows? I might have used it on another person or two before me. So in my case, so I don't know if the DBS surgeon would have the exact same equipment available to him if you went and had it done yourself. But that's what I experienced in mine. That's how it happened to me, is that I had it without any posts attached to my head at all, other than the lead feeders that they plant, so it moves with your head and it won't screw things up. Okay, so on September 29th, 2017, I went in for the surgery. Went in early that day, about 10 o'clock, I guess it was, because my surgery was scheduled somewhere around 3 or 4 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It's a little fuzzy at this point. It was, after all, a little over 2 years ago. But the doctor went longer on his previous surgeries than he planned on, and so my surgery was pushed at least 2 hours back. I can't remember exactly when I went in, but it was late when he got to me. So late I was wondering if he's even going to do it, but he decided to do it, even though it took him 4 hour surgery. So he was there for at least till 10 o'clock at night, getting me sewed up and all that kind of stuff. But it seemed like forever, and they wheeled me out. They pushed me into a room with a big white sci-fi looking machine in there. And I had a half thing like this that went overhead, and I don't know if it moved or not when it actuated, but it was actually the MRI scanner that they used to scan my brain as they were putting leads in, so I didn't know where stuff was at. That's part of what made me be able to be postless. So they pushed me in, and after they all introduced themselves to me and told me what they were doing and set me up to be prepped up for surgery, put my head in place, they began to work on me. It's indicated the last time I had 2 options in the surgery. I could either be put to sleep for the whole thing, which now they can do. They used to not be able to do that, but now they can do that. And the only danger to that is they may not get the lead placed in exactly the right spot, and they won't know that till after you wake up. So the other option is they can leave you awake for part of the surgery, the first part of the surgery at least, and run some tests on you and see if they've got the leads in the right spot before they lock them down and sew you up, that kind of thing. So I opted for the latter case in my case. So I didn't want to redo the procedure, as I said before, if they didn't get them in the right spots. Even if they're off as much as a couple of millimeters, they can make the whole thing not effective. Well, they did, however, put me partway to sleep. In other words, they kind of put me in some minor sedation when I first started working there. When they first started working on me. And but then later on they increased it, probably without my knowledge. and I remember there was part of the time where I was kind of like in a half awake, half dream state type situation, where I was awake, where they pulled me in and out and out and out. But the beginning of the procedure I really remember well, because that's where he's prepping me up, and then he numbed my skull, and then he started cutting into my skull. And I could feel the pressure of him pushing down on me, even though I couldn't feel any cuts or anything like that, because they had me pretty well numbed up, I think, up there. And there's not a lot of nerves in the skull anyway, so he was doing that, and I felt him when he did the cauterization and the drilling of my skull into my skull bones to open up so you have access to the brain. And I remember also when he was placing the leads in my brain, he would rattle off numbers as he would sink it down to 0. Start off about 10 or so, I think it was, or 8, or however deep they planned to put it in. And they count down 8, 7.5, 7.1, 7. They just go down like that. I felt him attaching the lead feeders to my skull, and the procedure And I vividly remember as well the testing of the leads. Once they got them down to 0, the spot where they thought they would work well, they had me test out. They had me hold out the hand that was going to be affected by the DBS and keep it steady, try to keep it steady as I could. And I'd rotate my other arm around like this. And I count backward from 100 to 0 by 3s or 5s or 6s or whatever number they called out for me to do it. They'd do different ones every time. So I go 100, 97, 94, 91 on down the road until they told me to stop. And I guess I did all that in order to distract my brain enough that the steadiness of my hand would be, they'd be able to see what really was going on there. That's what I assumed they were doing anyway. Sneaky people. After that, they pretty much put me to sleep the rest of the time, so I don't really remember anything after that much until I woke up in the recovery room. Except for one moment they thought probably I was asleep, but I wasn't. And I kind of gathered from what they were discussing, which was basically some directions to go and the procedures they were thinking doing, and then making a decision on proceeding. At one point I recall asking them if I was supposed to be awake or not. and the surgeon said, turn up the drip. So apparently I wasn't supposed to be. But anyway, there was no hemorrhaging. I came out of it well when I went in recovery, and they deemed it successful. Came by and stopped by and told me that. I came out with my brain intact, thankfully. At least I remember who I was, where I was, and what I was doing, and all that kind of stuff. They always ask you that, when you come out of something like brain surgery. Do they have any hemorrhaging or other complications? And then I had the surgery to replace my battery, and about 2 weeks after that. That was more painful than when I came out of recovery on that one. That was more painful than the DBS surgery actually was, because I had cut into my skin down here, my belly, where they threaded this thing down through my. It felt tight initially. It felt like can I live like this with it being this tight? Is it going to snap at some point? It's going to come out, which I read you can expose the wire possibly, but I guess it doesn't usually happen. So I woke up without much pain on my initial DBS surgery, but I had more pain in the second one. And about a week after they did the surgery on that, they had me turned on. My first turn on. And all between, since the day before surgery, all the way through to when I got turned on, I was on minimal, if none medications, which initially wasn't too bad because usually it takes about almost 3 or 4 days for the dopamine to get out of your system enough to where you really start noticing it that bad, at least in my case. I mean, I've had some minor issues, but it was basically all right for the most part. Although I had some tremors, but yeah. So you had all that long wait before you got it actually turned on. And you got relief. Different neurosurgeons do different things in different combinations as well, depending on what they're in their experience. They depending on what in their experience would work best for you in your situation. So, like, some will do a bilateral, which is the 2 leads, one on each side. They have to put one on this side to affect this side, and one on this side to affect this side. It's hard to do this when you're mirrored. Anyway, yeah, so it's called bilateral in that case. They can either do those both at the same time, which was done in my case, or they can do them in separate surgeries. Some will do the battery replacement, it's all at the same time. Some of them will do the whole ball wax all one shot, boom. My surgeon felt like that was probably too much for most people to take, too long of surgery. But anyway, some of them separated out like mine did. In any event, it's time to have the leads placed and battery installed and then to have it turned on and be one of the longest waits of your life. Once it's turned on, then the even longer wait for it to happen is recovery. Recovery is the time it takes for your brain swelling from surgery to go down and can last anywhere from 3 to 6 months, which is a long time to wait, seems like, for things to get back to, quote, normal, unquote. Although in this case, normal is a new normal, which you're getting back to anyway. But you say, what are you talking about, Rick? Well, you basically, after the first day they turned on, it felt great, I was able to walk, no tremors, excited, great. Then the day after, though, I started having all sorts of coordination problems. I tried to find the video where I showed myself going crazy on that, but I couldn't find it yet. Maybe I'll show it at some point later on. But anyway, the video showed me trying to walk from the truck to our house and sit in the chair. And it's kind of comical. It almost looks like I'm doing it on purpose, but I wasn't. I wasn't hardly able to control my movements very well. And part of it was I had the DBS up too high, I found out. But you need to turn it down some. Actually, I have 2 settings on my DBS programmable thing that I can put on my belly and have it activated. There's a higher setting and a lower setting. Lower setting I use for more physical activities like Zumba and pickleball and other exercises and stuff like that. And then I have a higher setting which I use to help me feel more fully, less tremors. Yeah, the other one's kind of on the edge of it, so to speak. But yeah, it controls tremors overall, but although a few tremors will pop through on occasion. But yeah. So it took quite a few adjustments after they turned it on for me to find the prime spot that most effectively controlled my tremors, while at the same time allowing me to effectively control my body. Yeah, I remember one time when I was shortly after that where I had it turned on and I wanted to get the fixed lunch one day when I came home. And I went up to there and I tried several times to get over to the counter where the food was sitting for me to open it up or whatever and stick in the microwave. Something pretty simple usually to do. I've been able to do most of my life, but that time I couldn't get it, and I was afraid I was going to hurt myself trying, so I went and sat down and called my wife and said, "Honey, I can't eat till you get home," because I couldn't fix my food, so I explained a lot to her. Anyway, we finally got it adjusted, and as you can see now, the only time anybody's able to tell that there's something weird about me, that I notice a lack of coordination on my part, is when I'm going up and down stairs, or I'm doing some kind of exercise like running or something. I guess I have to turn it way down to the edge for physical activity of that nature, but otherwise, I walk normally, and the only other thing people might notice is sometimes I have trouble finding the right words for things and stuff like that. More so than I did before. And that's what you really look at. I probably have some, thanks to DBS, I probably have some minor cognitive decline, but that was expected to a certain extent. So, that's my experience with DBS. I hope you find it informative in helping you decide whether or not you want to go through with it as well on your own self. Keeping in mind everybody's experience is different and everybody's outcome is different and how it turns out for them, so I can't say how it's going to be for you, whether you'll like it or what you'll experience. But I have definitely been glad and happy, as I mentioned last time, to have had it done and to go through that. But as well as what to expect if you are planning on going through with it. That gives you an idea of what happened. That's my experience. I also have a series of videos on my other channel that I use to create a daily log, almost daily. There's a brief period of time after surgery that I didn't post anything, but if you want to see me go through the different stages of what I just discussed in more detail, you can go visit the link below in the description and check out those videos. I think there's about 14 of them I posted, approximately, plus 2 or 3 follow-up videos after that. But I appreciate you taking the time to check out this video and watch it, and I pray it's helpful to you. If you found this helpful, I would greatly appreciate you clicking the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell button. A lot of buttons to click, I know, but that's YouTube. Anyway, thank you, and remember, be you, because no one can do you like you can. Bye.